Barack Obama was sure that he had covered his trail as he took every precaution to hide his relationship with one woman. Poor Obama didn't hide her well enough, and right before President Donald Trump left for his Christmas vacation, he secretly made sure that this woman's shocking criminal relationship to the former president was exposed. Obama felt sheer panic, calling his team of attorneys, and his head is not the only one going to roll. The president just gave the American people the best Christmas gifts ever, a huge new tax reform law, and now the evidence proving Barack Hussein Obama knew and sanctioned the illegal scheme to try to ensure the GOP candidate for president, Donald Trump, would never see inside the White House. It's all part of the same scheme that is behind the coup attempt to impeach Trump once he won, and the key is a woman named Mary Jacoby. Who's Mary Jacoby? Well, sit back my fellow Americans and pop some popcorn, as you learn of the one woman who is playing a prominent role in bringing down the Obama regime and the Clinton crime cartel for good. On April 10, 2016, Mary Jacoby showed up on White House visitor logs, meeting with President Obama and his top officials, and she doesn't leave for 14 hours. That same month, April 2016, the Clinton campaign and DNC hired Fusion GPS to organize the Russia research, which later became known as the bogus Russian dossier. Mary Jacoby is the wife of Fusion GPS head Glenn Simpson. But there's more. Simpson and Jacoby aren't minor players. This dreadful duo writes for the Wall Street Journal, and they are heavyweights in Washington, D.C., as part of the mainstream media. A tablet investigation using public sources to trace the evolution of the now famous dossier suggests that central elements of the Russia agate scandal emerged not from the British ex-spy Christopher Steele's top-secret sources in the Russian government, which are unlikely to exist separate from Russian government control, but from a series of stories that Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby co-wrote for the Wall Street Journal well before Fusion GPS existed, and Donald Trump was simply another loudmouthed Manhattan real estate millionaire. Understanding the origins of the Steele dossier, Russian dossier, is especially important because of what it tells us about the nature and the workings of what its supporters would hopefully describe as an ongoing campaign to remove the elected President of the United States. Source: Tablet Magazine. So, not only is Jacoby the wife of the guy who is behind compiling the Russian dossier, a totally fabricated document, we now know that Russian dossier was submitted as the only evidence by the FBI cabal, including former Director James Comey and his Deputy Director Andy McCabe, to obtain wiretaps on the then-candidate Donald Trump and his campaign. Jacoby even boasted about it in a Facebook post. In a Facebook post from June 24, 2017, that Tablet has seen in screenshots, Jacoby claimed that her husband deserves the lion's share of credit for Russia agate. She has not replied to repeated requests for comment. It's come to my attention that some people still don't realize what Glenn's role was in exposing Putin's control of Donald Trump, Jacoby wrote. Let's be clear. Glenn conducted the investigation. Glenn hired Chris Steele. Chris Steele worked for Glenn, reported Tablet Magazine. Jacoby's Facebook post is exaggerating their importance in writing the Russian dossier. Her husband Glenn Simpson assigned the actual writing of the Russian dossier to his Russia expert at Fusion GPS, a woman named Nellie Orr. This is where the DOJ's former Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr comes in. He is married to Nellie Orr. He also has admitted to meeting with Glenn Simpson to obtain the fake Russian dossier for the DOJ before anyone knew who his wife was. Fox News reports, Orr was set to appear before the Senate Intel panel Monday, but the appearance was delayed after the committee secured new related documents, which members wanted to review before hearing from him. Oh, I bet we know what those new documents are, thanks to Trump's sting operation, which he put in place with Inspector General Michael Horowitz taking the lead. That sting operation is gathering all this evidence, and Bruce and Nellie Orr, along with their partners Glenn Simpson and Mary Jacoby, have left quite an incriminating trail leading right back to Barack Obama. Jacoby's meeting with Obama is pure dynamite. I'm sure we would love to see the records from those meetings. Why would a Wall Street Journal journalist be in a top-secret meeting in the Oval Office for 14 hours? We all know that answer, and it's why Obama was definitely burning up his cell phone, calling his attorneys today. There's one more thing. All of these snakes communicated without being detected by the good guys left in the intelligence community, but how? Records prove Nellie Orr got a license for a ham radio in May 2016. These rats knew the NSA does not monitor traffic by ham radios. They really thought they had covered their tracks. Obama never fathomed this illegal scheme wouldn't work. He counted on ensuring Hillary Clinton would win the election. After she lost, he tried to hide all trails that would lead back to him as the FBI and DOJ cabal started Phase 2, the Trump-Russia Robert Mueller investigation, which they thought would eventually make Trump resign or be impeached. Except, he forgot about the White House visitors' logs, which are now in the custody of President Donald Trump. Merry Christmas, America, and stay tuned. Trump is just getting started bringing his enemies to justice.
The president, meantime, is on vacation, but before he left, he put out a few tweets. And if you read them, you will see a list of his accomplishments for the first year. Stock market at a record high, the housing market on a tear, Neil Gorsuch confirmed for the Supreme Court. His list goes on. But look at the latest polling numbers, and the president is still way underwater. 36-58. We'll bring in the big man himself, Tony Katz, WIBC talk show host from the great city of Indianapolis. Tony, always good to see you, my friend. You're in New York.
Yes,
Shocking.
I am.
Well, enjoy the Big Apple while you're there. What do you think is the disconnect between the poll numbers and the stock market and what is undoubtedly a number of accomplishments for the president?
Yeah, there's no disconnect. There's no disconnect. There's only media talking points. If you ask the American people outside of polling, they will see results. They know that there are results. If you take a constant drumbeat from media outlets talking about what a horrible, evil, terrible, despicable man President Trump is, well, that's all you're going to be left with. So in the realities, when you ask people on a one-on-one, there is no disconnect. In that groupthink and in those polls, well, sure, there was a disconnect.
But Tony, is that giving the American people enough credit? They know how their 401k is doing. They know whether they feel safer or less safe at home. They know what's happening to their own businesses and their own employers. So is it giving them enough credit to just say, well, the media is brainwashing them?
It was the polling that told us that Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president. They don't believe the polls, and pollsters, it's very obvious, don't get answers the way the American people really and truly think. We see this time and again. So yes, I give full credit to the American people, just like you, and good to see. They know the good when they see it. They don't necessarily believe the talking points, but the talking points do affect the polling.
Response bias might be the word for that. Bernie Goldberg, one of my favorite journalists, we had him on yesterday to talk about this very same issue. This is what he said. Take a listen.
He tweets too much. He's too vindictive. He's too much of a narcissist. And except for his loyal base that still loves him, he's the president of his base, because 35% isn't going to get him where he wants to go.
Is Bernie onto something if for no other reason than this could be a problem come the midterms?
Well, there's a problem with the tweets and in terms of getting into fights that don't help him in the idea of the cumulative effect. It's like an MMA fighter. If you were to kick an MMA fighter in the leg, the one leg kick doesn't do it. The second leg kick doesn't do it. The cumulative effect of leg kicks do eventually take a fighter down. And for President Trump, they're self-inflicted. But I would say to Bernie Goldberg and to anybody else, yes, the people may think that he's vindictive, but they're also very happy to see a tax cut. Yes, they may think he gets into too many fights, but Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. So they may think about this as the man who they want to, I don't know, they think of him as the boyfriend or whatever. Well, I'm not looking for a boyfriend, and most people aren't.
It goes back to James Carville's famous line about it's the economy, stupid, when he talked about Bill Clinton getting elected and what they were going to focus on. Is there a potential problem for Republicans that you have people who may like what the president has done for their pocketbook, may not like how he's done it, and you set up a situation where values trump even your own self-financial interest?
You show me the place where things trump your own financial self-interest, and I will invest in that place for my own financial self-interest. If people feel safer at home, if the consumer confidence is high, if they see more dollars in their paycheck, and oh, by the way, they see a foreign policy with a president who takes nothing from nobody, well, that's something that does make people feel good, regardless of whether they think, my goodness, would he just stop tweeting already?
Well, I mean, that would be the 1984 Ronald Reagan winning in a landslide scenario.
Well, first you got to ask yourself whether or not he's running for re-election, and I think we're way too far on that.
Come on.
Oh, You're Donald Trump. One term's all you need. I'm out. Why should I bother? I'd rather be in my penthouse in New York. It's a great place. Have you seen it? It's beautiful with the gold and everything else.
Well, you're in New York. I mean, he's in Florida, but you didn't get an invitation to go over for coffee or something?
Oh, listen. Our friendship between the president and I, it's a very special thing, very private. You know, I don't want to say too much, but I will say this. In the end, people are interested in results. And I think the Washington Times did a great job. 81 actual results. There are actual results. What people are talking about, what Bernie Goldberg's talking about, is about how you feel about him. Well, it's deeds versus words. Where are you? Are you worried about the things that he's saying, or are you worried about results? Me, most of America, we want results, and we're actually getting them in the judiciary with people like Amy Coney Barrett and Don Willits. We're getting them in the financial sector. We got them in regards to Jerusalem and foreign policy.
You make a good point, especially on the polling and response bias. If you change some of the questions to what you ask on your radio show of, are you happy with what the president has done versus do you approve of the way he's doing his job, you might get a new and a different thought, something we'll discuss, I'm sure, as we get together in the future days and weeks. Good to see you, Tony.
Absolutely.
All the best.
Take care. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Enjoy New York.